a threat in the elementary school, and let's say it's in Mrs. Gillespie's classroom, right now, how does she alert anyone?
She has an intercom system that she can push the button on and alert us, and then we can do something from there, from the office.
Okay, so it goes directly to you, and then you take it from there? Okay.
But then, I mean, how long before we find out, like in my office? Or, you know, obviously, I'm sure I'd be first, according to our plan, I'd be one of the first points of contact, but, you know, I mean, and if we're emailing or calling, or we're using the intercom system to notify people, like they said, it takes away that, you know, if you're trying to keep it silent, it becomes, which they also say is not something you know, necessarily worry about. But then it's just that whole matter of like, you don't get to know exactly where that's happening. It's not like on the intercom, they're gonna say active shooter in Miss Gillespie's room. So we just lose all of those opportunities to know where the issue is, and then everybody else, how they react. I just think that's invaluable to have that information at your fingertips and to know I'm gonna get my kids out of here right now, or it's happening next door to me, we're gonna shelter.
So it sounds like the issue is not getting it to Christina, it's getting awareness out to everyone else that needs to know right away as seconds matter, basically. Okay.
Including parents, Chase. That's one of my things, is it's gonna be a constant. All the parents will be showing up on campus and you'll have a big mess and no one will know what's going on. You'll have rumors swirling. I mean, even just, like I said, recent events, we saw that happen really fast.
So the superintendents that are using this app said that they then, you know, they have the communications for the parents part in the process. So they have designated and make sure that that person's safe and clear in a space where they can do the parent communications, and that person is just rolling out the IC messages constantly, like do not come to the school. Students are, you know, locked down or being evacuated, report here. And just, they said that every 15 minutes they were just rolling out that, or even 5 minutes at certain points to keep that going out, so.
Yeah, I just think we can be the authority, right, in that communication piece, rather than having to have parents learn about it other means.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice
And
if we do that.
even in those situations, they said that was part of what was so valuable about the app, was that the teachers were confident and the administrators and those folks in what was really happening, because it was all being reported on there. You could see everybody saying, that's not true. We do not have that. That teacher has just said they are safe and they have all their kids, because the kids were like blowing it up into something it wasn't and posting completely opposite information on social media. So that allowed the administration and the staff to be confident in what was really happening and make sure that was the story getting relayed to parents.
What would be helpful for me, and I think for everyone here, is what they're alluding to is the comprehensive approach is you guys come to us and say, hey, we've done our due diligence. We've looked at these 3 platforms. This is what we want to do. So, I mean, you guys are the experts. You're in the trenches. You live it day by day. We're not. We really need to hear from you. This is what you want to go with and the reasons why. In my mind, you know, we have certain needs as board members too, as we're also parents. We'd like to see that functionality of getting the message out. But bring it to us, so we're not having meeting after meeting, safety meetings. You see what I'm saying? Of this is what we want you to recommend, what to run with. Does that sound good?
Yep. I will pull together our safety team meeting and then get together with the board safety committee.
Could you include one of the technology team members in that?
Yes, we have added you to that.
Thank you.
Yes. We were missing you and a couple of other folks. Last year we learned so. Okay.
On that note, did we decide where the safety committee meeting falls under? Which one of these 'Cause I know we've had that conversation a couple times.
Well, yeah, there's a safety committee that is not involved.
Right, but the board.
We've talked about whether, when it comes to the board, then if it's under student services or operations. In the past, it's been under operations because it was mostly in regards to facilities. And we've talked about maybe making it a separate one, but right now or we could call it operations and safety going forward.
I'm
So-
good with whatever. I
Yeah.
just know we've kind of talked about it in the past. We're like, oh yeah, which one is that?
Operations.
More or less, do I need to attend or?
Yes, right now we have safety within operations.
Okay. So yes, I do need to attend.
Yes. All right.
Okay, I want to, I guess, kind of I know we have some more safety stuff to talk about, but Mr. Bowman's been here since about 5 o'clock tonight. So I do want to catch this baseball committee, activities committee discussion so that poor gentleman can go home.
I was just here after practice.
Okay, so as we have discussed, we have multiple items to cover for baseball. So I'm gonna pull up that email very quickly. I have the handbook up, all right. Okay. So we talked about the MHSA deadlines, and Scott Wilson is in charge of baseball. They are still accepting applications and said that they're not this year and maybe not next year, but he would not confirm that for sure, allowing schools to go past the May deadline for the following school year because of it being a new program and people trying to pull things together. So they are taking applications until through early December of this school year for this spring. In January, they will assign each school to a conference and begin that process. There are now 25 schools, and I noted that the most recent teams within the last couple of months have been Park High and Livingston, Big Fork, and Ronan. Most teams play 15 games and work on their schedule. He said the main reason for that was because of the pitching rules are hard to abide by. It's hard to get more than 15 games in because of the amount a pitcher can pitch. So that was just kind of my highlight and overview. That was the one question we had with the deadlines. So as far as sharing the city, as you know, we talked to Mike Evans, but we talked about needing to have a more serious meeting. And so I have reached out to Mike Evans and Vicki Rouser. We're hoping to see if we can have a discussion, and we are requesting to be on upcoming city council agenda so that we can discuss the sharing of the responsibility for the tennis courts as well as potentially the baseball fields. So that's the next step for that section. The survey results, we had 27 students, and some of them do play golf or track currently. So that would possibly impact those other spring sports, but it was pretty incredible to see 27 students, and I'll let Mr. Bowman speak to what that looked like.
Yeah, I didn't even know the announcement was going into the high school, and all of a sudden I had 5 sophomores and juniors come rolling into my room. And so I just put together a sign-up sheet. I said, sign your name here, put your name, put your grade on this piece of paper. Probably within, well, by 7th period, so they came in about 4th period, so by about 7th period, I had almost that whole group signed up. So there's definitely an interest out there from them. I didn't open it up to the junior high kids start writing their name down until the next day because I wasn't ready for it, but then I added that and started adding 8th graders and 7th graders into that too, to see what that would look like. So that 27 is high school down to 8th grade. So there are like 6 or 7 8th graders on that list as well. So I do have 2 others that have ran into me outside of school, and I said, I'll remember to write you down, and I haven't yet. So there are 27, I think it's 20 in high school now, then I think there's 2 more on top of that, so roughly. I don't think it's 27, but I might be wrong. I thought it was 24, but regardless, I think that's that number, so. But, so there's definitely the interest. Some I was really surprised, but a couple of the comments were, I'm not doing golf this year. I'm not doing track this year. I don't want to this year. If baseball's around, I would much rather do that. I heard that a lot from 4 names I could give you from kids. So I think only 6 I had counted were track or golf. I thought it was 3 and 3, but I think I don't know. I have it on that spreadsheet.
4 track and 2 golf.
So 6. So 6 track golf people. So there's still a definite number of not doing anything. And ultimately, when we look at what we're doing, getting kids involved in sports is kind of, it's a nice way to keep them doing the things they need to be doing at school. When you're talking grabbing 14 more kids to join in and doing the sports in the spring, keeps their grades up, they keep them behaving in school, doing the things they're supposed to be doing. I don't know, I think it's a no-brainer as far as that goes, but I do know there's, as the conversation is all night long, is money, right? I get that, I completely understand that. Numbers are so varying throughout the different teams we talk to. I believe Ms. Hedlund brought up a whitefish that spent $70,000 or something of that nature on theirs. I know that's definitely, of course, not in our budget. But as we look through that, I called her almost instantly when I saw that. I'm like, most of that stuff isn't stuff that is needed. There's a lot of stuff in there. We went through and hashed through that pretty good. I do know, ultimately you could give whoever coaches a budget. Say, hey, this is the amount of money that you're allowed to spend to start with. There's uniforms, baseballs, give them a dollar amount of this is how much. Anything after that, you need a raise. Bring in your own money to figure out how to get some equipment. Talk to Booster Club. Talk to some of the businesses that are interested in keeping this going forward. Having those conversations with them, I think, is pretty easy to do that. So I know there's a lot of interest, the kids, from others around as well. So that's kind of where I'm at. I think everybody's just, I would have had more kids and people show up today, but they're all involved in homecoming. I've got 2 showing up here today. So everybody else is running around and part of the volleyball and football thing going on and whatever else is going on. So, but there's definitely the interest out there.
So we got between, about $28,000 if we don't go to state, with kind of the minimum startup costs. With MHSA dues, really hard to estimate transportation when we don't know which conference we'd be in or where we'd be traveling. That's bats, helmets, uniforms, umpires, coach and assistant coach. And then if we went to state, it could cost up to $8,000.
What's year 2 look like for a budget, just for sustaining the program? Because that's startup cost, right?
Yeah, so we would be able to take out the equipment costs. Potentially, eventually you're gonna have to get so we'd be able to take out about $10,000 in equipment and uniforms. So we'd be down to $18,000.
What's football cost?
That's a great question.
Well, I mean, comparatively, we got 26 kids out for varsity football, and we're asking 26 kids for baseball. I guarantee the cost for football is a whole heck of a lot more.
Football's pretty expensive.
Not that I'm gonna cut the football program by any means, I'm just saying comparatively, if you're looking at
Yeah,
numbers of students and participants.
the helmets were a lot of money, $17,000 or something last year, but I wrote a grant for them, but, so, yeah, football's the pads.
I'm just curious, like I said. Hopefully if it's the November meeting or whatever, we can make a decision so that we can just make a decision for the next school year, because I don't want to keep dragging this on.
Yep. I think that's the thing. I believe you guys agreed we wouldn't be able to make it happen for this spring, but I just wanted to verify that they were still, just notify you that they were still taking teams. And then we can put it on the agenda for the next year, if that's what
Is
you'd
there,
like
is
to
there
see.
field maintenance costs built into those?
I did put field maintenance costs on there, just of $2,000 for basic like paint, and if we took a couple turns mowing or something like that, or needed to do fence repairs. And that obviously we'd have to work more of that out with the city.
Gary, does the school having baseball, you think that'll negatively affect Babe Ruth and? Because you guys
Yeah,
are using the
that-
same field, right? I mean,
Yeah,
period.
because they use the same field, so there
Right.
definitely have to be some coordination there to be able to make it work. Right now, Connors Field is not being used. It was kind of originally designed for, girls softball was being used out there, so there is another field that either team could probably go practice at and use.
Is that a
Um,
city field too?
That's a city field as well. Yep, I believe, yeah. So, yeah, so there's gonna have to be some sharing. Right now, we have a Babe Ruth team, which it's an age thing, not a grade thing for Babe Ruth, as a lot of the sports are. So it ends up being grades about 7 through freshman. So we'll lose some numbers of freshmen going up and playing high school. So it will affect Babe Ruth a bit when that's it, but you can't predict the future, but I'd almost guarantee if we had high school baseball, all of a sudden we get a lot more showing up for what I would consider junior high baseball, Babe Ruth baseball. So right now, Babe Ruth is part of the Cal Ripken League of Baseball that we all are part of when we do T-ball, majors, minors, rookies. That's all part of the Cal Ripken League. So is Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth's a Cal Ripken League thing, so it's all sponsored through that. So I don't know if that answers your question, but.
Yeah, I just could see, because they, the Babe Ruth League put all the money into the field maintenance and the four-wheeler and all the stuff that's there now.
Yeah.
I mean, we eventually cost share that, right? But I don't know how, that takes away from the community, I guess, too. There's that piece of it, right?
Right.
But, I mean, it sounds like you have enough upper level interest. Plus, I can see with the grades and the numbers of students coming into the district at the lower levels, it'll be no issue here 5 years.
Right. A lot of times kids get out of baseball because there isn't high school baseball. And right now we have a large number, 100 and something kids in baseball in town. I think it's 126 from 90. I think that's the number I heard today. This last year, and that's still without the idea of high school baseball showing up. So I know we lose a lot of kids through the Babe Ruth and the majors, minors, because of that, because there's nothing going up through high school. So, but
Did we get all our questions answered with the city as far as the fields and whatnot?
No, I mean, I guess it's kind of a bigger picture conversation that we need to have with them. I think the tennis courts are a huge concern right now. We don't have money to put into them, and they're almost unplayable. And so we need to have a conversation with the city of who's gonna take on what part of that responsibility. Because we share use with them right now. And then if we're gonna enter into another situation like that with the baseball field, is that gonna end up being our responsibility, or is that, or what would our portion of that responsibility be, or?
I'm just trying to recall exactly the minutes from last meeting, but I thought we were gonna go to the city and get some answers for baseball last month. So that hasn't happened yet.
No,
I think it was just tentative, like having Gary go and just say, hey, what's this gonna look like? And I think coming back from that, Jason had brought up a concern of, hey, this is what we're looking at the tennis court. Are we gonna get to that same? So I think that was there was an initial conversation of, is this looking like it's possible? And then do we come back and have a more in-depth conversation later? Is that why I recall it?
Okay. Oh, thanks, Daniel.
yeah, that needs to take place. I guess I didn't know if we wanted to formally be on their agenda, if we weren't sure if we were. It's kind of
Well,
like
it's
the
clear we're
current,
not gonna do it for spring of 24.
Yeah.
We're looking at spring of 25 already, right? I mean, it's not.
because we can't really decide we're gonna do it and then go figure things out with the city afterwards, but I also didn't want to put the wrong impression out there that we were requesting that of the city if we weren't sure if we were going after baseball or not, so.
Do they have a regular meeting set already, or do we need a special meeting with them?
When's the next regular meeting?
So they meet the first and third Tuesday of every month.
So I could see if we could get on the 17th, just for discussion of shared use of recreational spaces.
I think that would be prudent because the struggle I'm having right now is I feel like I'm ping pong back and forth when I don't have the information to at least say, I want to support, but then we don't have the answers to this. It's easy to go to a meeting and say, hey, we're looking at doing this. What would it look like? What are your expectations of us? Let's get all this flushed out so the board can make an informed decision. Because right now, we don't have the information to even say, let's move forward in my mind, because we don't know what the cause and effect is going to be. Again, I want to support, but we got to get some answers so we can make an informed decision. That's just my thoughts.
I agree. Yeah, I found Scott Wilson super helpful and got a lot more information than we had last time, but we still have the city piece missing for sure. That's the budget and the student interest. I think that, is there any other further information or components that we need for the next conversation?
How does outside fundraising work? Like if the parents of these kids want to help get this off the ground, is there some things that are not allowed, or?
That's one of the things that Gary and I have been talking about. I mean, we would have to have, just kind of like with the PTA, you would have to be organized and we would have to have an agreement and you would have to assign a treasurer and all of that before you could start raising funds for a program, right?
Couldn't the booster club do that, though? The athletic booster club?
If they wanted to earmark a certain
Right. You wouldn't need a separate
account
entity.
for baseball.
No, if the Booster Club wanted to take it on
Right.
as the entity that they already are, yes, they
Or
could do that.
PTA.
Like just earmark the funds, you wouldn't
But-
need a whole separate organization.
The problem is, long-term again,
Right.
looking at sustainability and, getting something started and getting people to sponsor upfront costs is one thing. Keeping it going is another. And I don't like to be the bad guy, but I'm just so everybody knows, I'm going to struggle and have struggled with this just because of, I think it does create a burden on the district to add another sport. And because of the costs, and there's a lot of things that we we can't really put numbers to, because, now we're adding another bus driver potentially in the spring, does that make it so we have to find another additional bus because there's more activities? We're already, in my mind, in a tight spot. And I know where we left negotiations last year with the teachers, and I know where we're going to start this year with the teachers, and the budget is just tight. And we've talked about a lot of different things tonight, and the dollars are the struggle. I do appreciate Gary and all the work he's put into it and the interest that these kids have. But just so everybody knows, my struggle with it is the dollars and the commitment and the extra burden that it puts on the district right now. So, I know we're not here to make a decision tonight, but
So is there things you can cut, right, in terms of spring sports?
okay, but we already have, you brought up football. I guarantee if you go ask Mr. Horn, he's not getting all the dollars that he'd like to have right now. And if you go ask the basketball coach, they're not getting all the dollars that they want to have. So now we're asking to spread that pot of money out even farther.
I just look at the number of students willing to participate and participating, right? So, is there one benefit to another? I know we have the Title IX concerns and all that too, we have to factor in as well, but what I don't want to do is select for students based on our preference. I want them to choose what they want to do and put the funds behind that.
I know that a couple of other concerns were just the management of another sport. We're required to have an administrator on the field at games. So, Sherry and I have to both be on duty and John during when basketball and wrestling are both occurring at the same time, to be here on the weekends. So we have someone on the field, for example, for each of those kinds of things. And, Brad does the middle school sports, Brad and I. So just those components, just, our team, just thinking about that it does take, more staff time as well. And then also just the struggle we have finding bus drivers currently.
That's my point. I don't want to add
Yeah.
to the plate. I want to look at what we can cut, what we need to cut or trade.
Right. But I think that I agree with you. I was surprised, and I thought it was positive that there's kids that want to be involved in something. I was excited about some of the names I saw in there. I think it would be good for them to be in participating in something. And yeah, it's pretty interesting the variety of schools that are signing up. And so I will definitely ask if we can get with the city so I can get that taken care of for you. And then we can move forward with making decisions. And if there's other information, if we need to do a deeper dive into the budget or look at athletics, like if you want to know how much each sport's costing and all those different kinds of things, I'm just going to need more direction and time to get that done with our clerk.
I think that would be helpful. Just to compare.
I think the meeting with the city has to happen regardless of what the baseball decision is going to be.
Yeah, agreed.
With tennis courts.
Tennis courts, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay. Again, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for sticking it out.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys,
The
for
students
coming.
coming in.
Yeah, thanks, Nolan.
Okay, now circling,
Oh,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
sorry, are we going on to something else? Oh, safety. Can I bump one more thing?
Yep.
Okay, I would like to introduce so she can get on the road because she's sat here for a long time also. And so I just wanted to introduce our new counselor that is going to be recommended for hire today. So we have Holly Smedley here, and she has a ton of experience in school counseling. If you want to just stand up and say hi. And she'll be going by Mrs. Holly instead of Mrs. Smelly. She asked if that was okay. So she's been in training and getting to know the staff and the school, and we're really excited to have her on board, and she's just been jumping right in. So thank you for being here, and I don't know if you guys have anything else to share or if the board has any questions.
No, we're just really
excited to have her on board. We're rolling with some things that have kind of been put off a little bit this year. So.
Yeah, very excited to have her. So we have lots of plans.
We have a list of students that have, you know, we have kind of a priority list going for students for her to check in with, and then kind of start some social groups. And she's also building her schedule with the classroom teachers to be in the classrooms. So,
Cool.
all right.
I've been in a few different times when kids have forgotten saxophones or chocolate money or that kind of stuff in the mornings. And I've actually seen her standing up front, greeting kids that are coming in. And it was just something I recognized. I thought it was a good image for the kids to come in and have someone that eventually they're going to be able to trust. And I thought that was a good way to start that up. So thank you for doing that.
She asked if her schedule if she could come earlier in the mornings than the 7:45, because she expressed that was something important, and to be able to catch those kids, especially if there was something like we talked about with the Handle with Care, if they had something, a rough night or something, that she could catch them right off the bat and try to help them turn their day around. So we're excited. Thank you for being here tonight. I'll let you get on the road. I know you must be on way to get home too.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, back to safety. I think Chase has some more.
Okay.
We're gonna have to work, we haven't even got off the first page yet.
Almost as well, another meeting.
All right, with that said, I'm going to try and make it brief here, but basically, the input that we received from the last 2 meetings ago, I think it was, can't remember, the days are running together. Basically, all the comments that were made, trying to design something that accomplished everyone's objectives, goals. We had the sheriff here, we had the pairs here, we had the administration give good thoughts, feedback, board members did as well. And also talking with parents out there, I've got some feedback from them as well. So what this is we all know we need a higher fence, and appreciate Daniel's work on that. So this all integrates the 6-foot height fence that we all seen through Fence Crafters. The second part of this is basically aesthetic flower beds made with Canta block. And the best way, forgive the awesome artist job here, but they're 10 feet wide, 4 feet tall in the back, 2 feet tall in the front. So it's kind of stepped per se, with basically you have shrubs, flowers inside with, of course, compost, dirt as well. But the idea is it also creates a nice barricade. It creates cover, like Travis alluded to. Cover is very important. You have something that's 4 feet high. If a kid gets down on the ground, that 4 feet high protects a lot of ground covered in that playground versus what is being covered right now, which is hardly anything. So if you look above, you can see these flower beds are half circles. The length in the back are 10 feet. They go out 4 feet to make the half circle. And that is to scale. The drawing up top's to scale, not the ones in the front. And basically, the idea is a car couldn't drive through it, if that's what they tried to do. It'll create it will basically accomplish cover, and it's integrated in with the power generator box and the trees that are already planted there. So anyway, this is just one idea. If the board wants to continue down this road, I can get actual firmed up bids. The bids on the estimated cost below, half of those are actual bids right now. I'm still waiting on a couple of the other bids. Tomorrow I'm going to go walk the grounds with A to Z Concrete to get the actual labor for that. That's an estimate at this time. The other thing I will point out is to the west, where I have it grayed out. That was comments from some parents. When they go to pick up their kids right now, a lot of the parents and kids are tripping in the rock work out there. And we need to get some smaller pea gravel in there as well. It's basically like a holding area. So all the parents can come and congregate together to pick up their kids, because there's really not room as it sits right now, and that is a complaint. And I figured Daniel also had a great idea about that decorative bulldog paws. Because there's not going to be any protection right there where that pea gravel would go, we could put those paws there to make it, bulldog spirit. And it'll also create that concealment for our kids on the playground, because that space would be open. There's not going to be a flower bed in that area. If anyone wants to go look and see what this flower bed would look like to scale, out at Trailhead Church, we have these Cantablock flower beds in the front bank. These are going to be a little bit bigger. Those are 6 feet wide in front of the church. These are 10 feet wide, so that'll give you an idea. Plus, these ones would have a raised back. The ones at the church do not. They're just 2 feet around the front. So with that said, any questions on this idea?
On the three you have in a row, how far apart are they?
Basically, they're about 6.5 to 8 feet, I think, and some are a little bit different. There's some trees in there as well.
I have noticed the pickup time. I've been going out there with the kindergartners quite a bit. So to help them get dismissed, and there are parents kind of all over that rock bedded area where it's not intended for people to stand, but they're trying to get to their kids and that kind of thing. So I see what you're saying there.
Well, and again, this is feedback. This is not my feedback, but feedback from the
Yeah.
community. There's not like a staging area. And there needs to be something that's more like better for parents to stand, so they're not tripping and falling. It's kind of a safety hazard too right now. But anyway, I haven't experienced it, but that was the feedback that I got, so.
Yeah.
And any thoughts on, right now, the fence line is gonna be changed right here to get this door, out of the playground? So, did you look at this side at all, as far as?
Not yet. No, this is the big concern right now. There would be that angle you're right, from this side, but because we have grass and lawn there, that hasn't been redesigned, I figure we could do that some other time, or plant some trees or whatnot. But right now, this is the concern. And with that said, the funding for this, the whole intent is to roll it into the safety grant money that hopefully we get this spring, so it doesn't come out of our budget. So
How close are these? Like, are we just making a set of steps over the fence, or?
no, it's about 6 to 8 feet there. The scale's
Away
down
from-
here. Yeah, so if you use that as a scale, you're about 8 feet from that fence. It'd take a pretty good jump, I think.
Some concerns, because we've talked about kind of adding some slight obstruction to that fencing area. Concerns that's been brought to me by some of the parents out on that playground is creating those visual barriers out there can block people from seeing in. But the concern also is that with any of those kids that do get out, if one sneaks out, something or other, it's very easy for those kids to get out and be able to duck behind a 4-foot fence, 4-foot wall, if a parent has a turn and now they don't know where this kid went. And so I think it helps in some instances, but I think it does hinder. And this was brought up to me when we've talked about site obstruction before out there by a couple of parents, that they were concerned that it'd be much easier for a kid to hide themselves as well, or hide themselves from parents afterwards or whatnot. So I understand the goal on this. I think there's some other options that we could look into. I think some of the rock that we have out there already, the larger rock, that serve similar purposes, and adding a few more out there could help. Not to say that this is, doesn't have good merit behind it, but I just know that is some of the concerns that I've been brought up to me.
You bet. So the first thing I'd say to your first point is, what's your biggest concern? I mean, what are you trying to protect from? I mean, if a kid gets out of the 6-foot fence, obviously he's gonna be able to climb a 4-foot wall pretty easy, right? So again, it goes to the question is, what's our goal? Are we trying to protect the kids from the outsiders or the inside going out? So that's the question for the board.
I guess you look at that two different ways.
The second point is the rock that's out there, that doesn't give you any cover or concealment. So you'd have to get some pretty big rocks to get replaced out there, which those boulders are pretty expensive. So just food for thought as you work through that. And again, if any of the board members want to present something, then let's present it, because we have a concern right now, a major concern. And so, again, I'm bringing something to the table, and let's modify it if you want to, but if you want to do something different, then present it, please, so we can move forward and get these kids protected.
What is your primary concern?
Safety of, every time we read
No,
the
but
headlines
what-
of a,
What is the primary threat that you
the
think?
playground is wide open right now. Any vehicle driving by can see all the kids out there.
So a drive-by
A
shooting?
drive-by shooting, absolutely. That's my biggest concern. Secondly, is someone running through the fence with their car to grab a kid or two. Could be a parental dispute or whatever. Right now, there's nothing to keep that from happening. I mean, we live in.
That's why I brought up the corner over here, because they can still do that. Even though we have grass, we're gonna still run.
Sure. But what I'm trying to present is something is better than what we have right now. Again, if you have another idea how to secure that end part, then let's do it. We can put a couple concrete posts in or whatever on that end if you want. Again, that's my concern. Again, if you talk with Rick Dancer, moved from Oregon. He lives here in this community now. If you talk to him, and all these people that Uvalde, all these people, they have the same comment. Never thought it was going to be our school. And so the one thing that keeps me awake at night is, am I doing everything in my power to create the safest environment we can? Right now, it's a duck shoot, quite frankly. And we can do something better for relatively a cheap cost, so why don't we do it? That's where I'm at. Did that answer your question and my concern?
So, and I don't know the answer to this. I've always wondered, since we started this conversation, at what point does a lack of sightline or whatever become a hindrance where you can't see a threat, or for a potential shooter or harmful person to hide behind, versus providing cover? And I mean, obviously you've got some training in those areas a little bit. Because I wondered that through several of the options, would that create at what point do you create a more beneficial situation for a person looking to do harm, as opposed to, is there a rule of thumb there? Is there that you know of, or?
It really is. It goes back to the risk assessment that hopefully we're going to get someday from the gentleman.
I just followed up
Yeah, he
with
kind
him.
of alluded a little bit to it, just sort of as a.
Really, it comes at Brad, for this scenario, it's not like, and again, the training I have isn't to this.
Right, but.
It's up to the board to decide, hey, this is what I think the threat is here in this community, or could be, and to do something about it. If I'm the only one that thinks that I'm concerned about a drive-by shooting, which I am in this time, if I'm the only one that feels that, then I'll be the only one. And then we needed to design something else that does the other.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And I mean, I share the same concern. I just have always wondered, because one of my, and I guess everybody's got their own scenarios. Mine's always been not being able to see a threat coming or a threat I can't see, versus, and that's what I'm worried. That's what I'm asking about any of these measures we've taken. At what point, and I guess that'd be something for Sheriff Rouser or whoever,
So, and I like Jason Cool's comment about the comprehensive approach.
Right.
We get a SRO officer, in my mind, that's going to help the inside of the school. So now what are we going to do to help protect, someone from outside
Right.
coming in?
Right.
So if we have the SRO up, we have the inside taken care of, but we still have this vulnerability big time.
Yeah, it is a big time. I mean, somebody could park, seriously, you could walk away and, I've always thought that.
Well, it's the same with the windows on the street, right? Classrooms and everything else.
Right.
If in my mind, you're trying to, what's the threat and what level of risk are you willing to accept? And for me, I would align more with Chase in that I'm willing to mitigate any and all possible risks through whatever means we can. Even if that means it never happens here, wonderful, great. Let's hope it never does.
And I'm not arguing with any of that. My question is simply,
Right, where's the trade-off?
at what point have we provided a cover for a potential shooter? And, and I don't know enough, I'm not, that was my concern with when we talked at one time about putting up hedges where we couldn't see out, some guy standing across the street assembling, whatever, and we don't see him until it's too late. And that's all I'm asking is that have we considered that aspect of it at all? I think it's important we have some place for kids to take cover, absolutely. And I think, I think it's a completely good idea to put up anything to prevent somebody from driving in there, whether it's purposeful, accidental, whatever, and they'll certainly achieve it. So I was just bringing that up as at what point does that become a concern?
Randy did talk about line of sight quite a bit
Right.
when he was here, and that was one of the things he said, like with the hedges or the plants we have out front, you want to keep them usually under 4 feet because then, you can still be blocking some of the view of the children and blocking some of that, but you can still see if there's an adult creeping around
Right.
behind the bushes.
And these would serve that purpose, right, of.
Well, and I took that comment from Travis, who's a para, who's a veteran, who's
Yep.
been in, across the pond. He knows how important cover is.
Right.
And that's, like I said, every comment that was made, I tried to figure out how are we going to compile something to achieve everything and still achieve some line of sight out, as opposed to a
Right.
brick wall that's going to look like a prison, which none of us wants, right? So now you break it up. So you have some cover, but you also, it's not completely solid, so you still have a way to look out to see where the threat is.
Yeah. Thank you. That's a good
Yeah.
answer.
It's kind of there's not a best solution, and that's the challenge with this problem set. It's trying to put everything together and come up the best thing out of a bad situation in my mind.
Sure.
So there's always going to be different ideas and concepts. There's going to be pros and cons. It's like, what can we all live with to say, hey, we can look some parent in the eye and say, we did something, we thought it was the best that we could do, given the circumstances.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Chase, on that, what about on going something smaller and more up, I guess?
You
Because I'm
could.
looking at 10 feet long and 4 feet. I mean, in a lot of the trainings, you can lay down in that area and still reach over, right? Someone could lay in that area and you won't be able to see them. And
Sure.
shoot over the top of it. Or if you have something on a smaller scale, Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you're thinking like 5 feet wide?
Something, I guess, something like this, something that's smaller and more, but it's, you know, still, you've got a nice spread on for that view, but something that someone can't lay down and still have a protection on themselves on the outside, I guess. But then you do have a vision of them, because they can't hide behind 10, they can hide behind 10. but they
Plant
can't
rose
hide
bushes
behind-
in there.
What's that?
Plant rose bushes in there.
Yeah.
And cactus?
Yeah.
It's just a thought on just thinking
Yeah.
about,
Well, when I walk it, and if, again, I want to hear from the board if they want to continue this or not. Like I said, when I meet with A to Z tomorrow, I can say, hey, we're looking at doing either this or do twice as many, half the size. Could certainly do that. Could again, because part of this too, if you'll notice, is to make it aesthetic as well. So it doesn't look like,
Yeah.
you know,
right, and I know that's why the 10 feet, I just envisioned someone laying down there, that's all.
yeah, no, it's a good
Then
thought.
they got a hidden area themselves.
It'd be easy to do because be a little bit more labor, but you'd have the same effect. So. Any other thoughts?
I guess a couple things I'm thinking of is whatever we decide to do to solve and don't take this as me degrading the severity of it, but whatever we decide to do to solve the 1% problem, I don't want it to negatively impact and cause more issues for the 99% problem. There's much higher chances that kids are going to be able to sneak out and hide behind something, or there are people, you know, being able to use that as to hide behind to cause a threat, than I think what this is going to solve. Through my research, and this is just from my background of cost benefiting things out, is I forgot the exact figure, but I want to say it's 85 to 90% of all school shootings, acts, anything like that are pre-planned. An 8-foot wall was not going to prevent a pre-planned event. They're just going to plan around whatever gets put up there. So I just want to make sure that when we're going forward, that we're looking at this as, yeah, what is the best benefit to our district? But what are we also trying to solve? Someone wants to come in and start shooting, I don't think there's anything we're gonna be able to do to stop someone from coming in and shooting. And agree or disagree with me, that's on you guys, I mean, that's your guys' call, but I just think we wanna make sure what we're spending is justifiable and not more than necessary, and not creating new risks and new hazards.
So I'm hearing you correctly. Are you saying you're happy with how it is right now? You don't want to do anything with that?
I am saying that I don't know that creating large site obstructions through the research that I've done is the right way to go about this, because I think it can create hazards.
What's the right way then? What are you presenting?
I mentioned before, I think we could look at different means of mitigating, vehicles that could get in there by intention or through errant means. We've talked about bollards before as being something that would prevent some of that. I think it's more of the accidental stuff that's going to be a problem than the intentional stuff. Maybe they don't pick the kid up over the fence, but maybe they wait until the kid gets released and there's 30, like you said, you've been out there. There's 30 parents standing there and all it takes is a kid to duck behind two, and now a parent that wasn't non-custodial is able to. I guess if there's a desire to do it, I think that they're gonna find a way around it.
So you're saying you're good with how it is right now?
I'm saying that I don't think we need to go to this extent for $17,000.
Even if we can get a grant?
If we can not create more hazards out there, then yes. I'm okay with modifying it. I don't like, through the research I've done and through what we've heard, I don't like the idea of creating more issues of the everyday than rather the long-term. Don't take it as me degrading a shooting by any means.
No, that's fair. I understand what you're saying.
That's my thought process on it.
On that note, Daniel, and I know Susie's heard this from me a million times. One thing, when I first moved here, the way our kids walk out the gate has scared me from day one. And I guess I would rather come up with something better on that end, because right now, our kids can walk out that gate and anyone can take them. There's no possible way for us to control that right now. There's no way for us to say, you can't be taking this kid. And so that's always been a concern of mine since I've moved here, of how can we make that better in our community for the kids? Granted, yes, we never know the shooting. Yes, you hear that all the time. We never thought it would happen here. We can't say that that's not, and I think there's something here to build on, whether it's a different version of something to give some kind of protection. But right now, our kids can walk out and go with anyone.
Well, we would need something to present. That's where I'm at.
So,
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard of programs out there, but I don't know. Where I came from, everyone rode a bus. So it's not anything I've ever had to really deal with.
my thoughts on, you know, what Daniel just said, and, you know, I think his research is absolutely correct, that the vast majority of school shootings are pre-planned. But I guess, you know, that being said, I think, you know, one of my fears is not necessarily the pre-plan, because I do agree that if somebody, you know, they're gonna be able to find a way. But the angry parent that just lost, you know, and just is reactionary, you know, the little things that can maybe just thwart them or make them stop and pause, you know, like putting that, not like we've done with the front porch, is not being able to walk in, you know, if there are things out there that, oh, now I gotta stop and think about it a little bit, maybe they've changed. It's kind of like locking your door at night at home. I mean, if somebody walks in, they're getting in, you know, but it takes away that person that just, oh, it was ease of access, it was, you know, and I guess the decision for you guys is what's the amount, you know, how much do we spend to create that situation? But I do think there's, you know, I worry about the reactionary things of people that just saw an easy target or were just needed some cool down time and had to stop and put some thought into it and change their mind or whatever. So I think, you know, if we do something, I think there's benefit to it for sure.
It's just a matter of what you do.
Well, we heard from one other board member. What are the other three say on this matter? Just so I know which way to go here with this.
I tend to lean towards what Daniel's saying. It's hard to know what the right answer is, but the one thing I have noticed, you know, when Dick Anderson put in a 4-foot fence, and that's what they always do, when I visited schools or driven by, it seems those schools, they have more of like a boundary fence. It's not as concentrated as our little playground there. So I think there is an issue there, but I guess for me, I'd be more concerned about a vehicle coming through, whether intentional or not.
So you don't think this would stop a vehicle or help prevent it?
I don't know. I worry about too much cover.
Okay. Jason?
No, I'm definitely not okay with it. Oh, which one?
No, you're good.
Sorry.
You're good. Go for it.
Sorry, no, it's happened earlier today too. I'm not okay with it as is, right? Yeah, I think from my perspective, it is that an errant vehicle. I don't even think intentional. I think just somebody coming right off the corner and going right through the fence. I mean, you hit the brake, you hit the wrong pedal. And, you know, that kind of stuff we need to stop for sure. I am very much in a comprehensive mindset. Like, I don't want to just address this and think we have all the problems solved, because Christina's point, my point about the windows, the design where we have our high school administration, and the office there with people walking in those doors, there's no control there. So there just needs to be a bigger, more comprehensive look. You know, if you can get a grant to pay for it, by all means, mitigate risk. That's where I'm at. But yeah, if it's shorter ones to your guys' need, if it's more and shorter, I'm all for it. If this is a good strategy or good starting point, I'm for that as well. Because you're still, as an adult, you're still there, right? You're still there to see over a 4-foot wall. You're still there to see over a 2-foot front of a wall. I know we're short on paras, and that's another conversation in itself, but that always helps too. I think of just trying to get that herd of children moved is difficult in itself, let alone when something happens chaotic, even if it's a health emergency for one of the students on the playground. Like, trying to get them all away from that so they're not staring at everything that's going on, I think is going to be a challenge in itself. And so there's a lot of comprehensive things we can look at, but I'm in favor of trying to mitigate risks, especially vehicles. Folks that are smarter than me, that's seen more world experience than me, and if using the combat situation is this is what's helpful for that, then I'd certainly listen to those folks, because I'm not there. So I'm in favor of doing something, Chase. I don't like how it is now.
My concerns, I guess, are not the same as your concerns. And I guess I will say I am okay with how it is. The way the layout is, the way the street runs by, it's not running alongside a busy highway. It's not even at an actual intersection where somebody's going to blow straight through and end up right on the playground. So my level of concerns are not the same as what yours are. I look at those risks of a school shooting coming from a planned event being on the inside of the school. I look at even an SRO. The odds of them being at the right place at the right time in that type of event are pretty minimal. That even that is not going to totally mitigate that situation. But, if we lived in a bigger city, drive-by shootings, you bet that would be a higher level of concern than because of where we are. And, I'm probably naive, whatever, but that your level of concerns are not the same as mine. And I don't think the changes that are being discussed, I don't think they mitigate the percentage chance of those things happening. I don't think changes with the proposals that we've looked at, for the last several months. So I think, the 6-foot fence, slowing down kids that are crawling over it, I think, that was a necessary probably change. But I still think when it comes time to somebody kidnapping a kid or taking a kid, there are too many other options that are available, and they will find one. That these don't solve those problems. They might change them, they might reroute them, but they don't eliminate them.
Thanks.
Yep.
Well, that's why we're a board. And I hope I'm wrong, so I pray to God. So anyway, just make a note in the record that I presented something. All right.
No, I thank you for your time. I know you put a lot of time into that, and not that this is the end.
No, I know. It's not that. It's just I am concerned, and I'm scared to death, because I think we have a huge vulnerability it's not good. And I hope someone else presents something that can put my mind at ease for our kids' sake. So.
Okay. Any other questions?
Well, just, if it's grant funds, does it matter, right? Does that matter in anybody's conversation? You can get it paid for, it doesn't cost out of your general fund expense. What's the harm?
My harm is as long as it doesn't create more risks of higher probability than what we're trying to solve. That's my only concern.
And I think part of the discussion that, you know, the people congregating and walking across the gravel, I think you make that worse. I really do. When you start adding more things, I think you're gonna make that worse.
We might change that whole system anyway, right? Leaving school
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah.
Because I've had that same problem. I mean, I've been standing there, can't find my kid, and all of a sudden they just show up to me, or other kids show up to me, and I'm like, where'd you come from, you know? So.
Yeah, we've talked about different models. I've shared a model that we had in Livingston, and in the past, it's been the thought that it was part of the kind of small town family feel. Everyone's like, oh no, we all know who everybody goes to, but that has all changed a lot since I've been here. So there are definitely systems and protocols out there, and the COPS grant is the one that I found on the website that Chase sent to us that I thought was probably the best fit for applying for physical safety components to be altered. So that would be the grant that we would be looking at for that. Just wanted to throw that in there. It's expected to open in March. The STOP grant that supports the school climate, school psychologists, social workers, and SROs is also expected to open in March. And they both have a quick turnaround window. And just keep in mind, they're likely a big lift and would also impact the business office. But I'm happy to look at them. And then I did send Chase and Sheriff Rouser back another safety grant website that I found. So I will keep my eyes on those and look forward to securing resources for what we think might be solutions. And I will follow up again. I did follow up probably about a week ago with Randy. I'll follow up again and see if I can get that.
Does it even exist? That's what I'm starting to wonder.
He was typing a lot in his computer that day. And we do have the report that we got, which was just a little bit different format, but very comprehensive, more comprehensive, that the U of M Safe Schools Center did last year. And I can definitely send that one on. And then, maybe we need to go back to more like a database decision based on those experts' recommendations or something like that, whatever you guys think we need to do. So
What would be interesting with the U of M one is they did that before we're all finalized. It'd be interesting to see
If she came back.
elementary, well, especially like the elementary, well, in the high school didn't have their stuff in place.
yeah,
It'd be interesting to see what she came up with now because we do have a lot more things in place.
good thought. Okay, so we definitely need to have a safety meeting. We'll get that scheduled and those reports out to you guys ASAP.
Yeah, school safety is a never ending. I mean, goes on forever.
Constant.
So,
Yep.
okay. Thank you, everyone, for good discussion.
We have been wearing our badges and we're really promoting that. And so I think that that's helpful especially with the new adults like Holly coming in and things, right away getting her a lanyard so people knew that she was to be there and all of that, so.
I even got stopped at the door today, which, I mean, I should have been, don't get me wrong, but it kind of caught me off guard and like, oh, no, you're right. Oh, I didn't pass, I got my visitor pass.
All right, moving on to the consent agenda items, minutes and warrants.
I would move to approve the minutes and warrants as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes and warrants as presented. Is there any discussion?
I got a question on Huddle. Did we get clarification on the coach's use of Huddle? Maybe Sherry, do you know?
Yeah, they use it all the
All
time,
the time.
24/7.
So,
And multiple sports.
That's not what his question was, though. I think more specifically, Chase was wondering how it's used, like in each sport, and then if they're paying, how it's paid for individually.
It's by sport, and obviously there's a lot of information on Huddle, but they use it for all schools use it. They exchange all their tape and video that way. I mean, or they use it for recruiting, they use it for all kinds of things. That's something that we could get a report from every sport on, because they all use it differently, but a lot of similarities as well. So
Yes.
stats keeping and all of the, everything.
No, when Devin graduated, I remember we had to subscribe to Huddle to send clips to Western,
Yes.
but we paid for that. So has something changed with Huddle?
So schools are now using Huddle as the main platform, not just for college recruitment, but that's part of it, Chase, is that college recruitment place. But they're using it to exchange film, to exchange video, everybody is posting to Huddle and everybody has access to each other's games and plays. And when they share, when they share all of the footage and all the film and the video and all of those things, that's how they do a lot of this through Huddle. There's also a stats component with it. There's a lot of stuff that goes with it. I know it's spendy, and it's something that we've had now for several years. It's kind of been an automatic thing, but it is expensive. But almost everybody, that's the platform they're using is Huddle to exchange all of those things. Doesn't mean you can't do other things, but it makes us not in the same realm as everybody else. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it does. No, thanks for that clarification.
Yeah, either way, they're gonna be exchanging film, whether it's through Huddle or something else. And
Right.
it's, yeah, they use it very extensively. I end up working with the coaches quite a bit on that every year.
To Susie's point earlier, we're talking, was it $1,500 a year for this safety app? And we're paying $6,000 for Huddle, so.
That's
in my-
what I was,
In my mind, we got our priorities screwed up. So anyway, I hope that we can make safety a priority and get a comprehensive system put in place soon. So I'll be looking forward to those recommendations from everyone.
Any discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passed. Approve the attendance agreements.
This is standard, as you can see, they are attached, and if you would please move to approve the attendance agreements as presented.
Move to approve as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the attendance agreements as presented. Is there any discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passed. Finally, page one.
Little fast.
Approve updates to the faculty staff handbook.
Okay, so, thank you, Lisa, for hanging in there with us and for bringing these, comments forward. Just a couple things that were caught after the fact. The more times you read and revise these things, some of the smaller things get missed. And even though I asked the principals all to review them as well, we did have some staff catch a couple of things. One kind of overarching principle was to create links potentially to the policies or have a policy reference guide. I think that that's a great idea. So I can certainly work on that. The only concern I have with that is that unfortunately, some of our policies, as you can tell, as you know, if we start printing policies, we can kill a lot of trees. So we can think about how we want to do that. Or we can have it digital.
Well, and that's what I think I typed that in.
Yeah.
Comment is just have it digitally and then just have a sign-off sheet for everybody. Then they can access it right on the website. And we don't have to print it out. It would save
Yeah.
a ton of trees.
Yeah. So then as we go down, the next one is on, still Brad's, that'll be easier for me to read them electronically. One of the ones that we caught was that the teachers used to be able to leave at 3:30. Okay, so this is on page 4. The teachers used to be able to leave at 3:30 Okay, so the first one, I guess, is about staff meetings. They can leave at 4 o'clock if they come earlier for the staff meetings. And then with medical appointments, they used to be able to leave, quickly after the students if they let us know that they had a medical appointment. And not have to stay for that last part of the contract day. So we just need to change that to 3:50 now. And I agree with that completely. That's been a good past practice that way. It encourages teachers to schedule appointments for after school and still be able to get to the doctor or something before 5 o'clock, but not miss school. We worked out that a quarter day will consist of 2 hours and 15 minutes. This all became one of those things that we didn't think about with switching to the 4-day week, but when we started looking at the fact that we had allowed people to take quarter days, like if they just had a dentist appointment or something, then we had to recalculate kind of what all of that looked like with the days being longer. So we determined 2 hours and 15 minutes would be a quarter day. And then the half days would be based on before or after lunch, noting that the first half of the day is longer, but it can be a wash. We also had to change the times on sub cards and some of those different things that came from that. And then just some typos. And that was most of the meat of the changes. I don't think there's anything substantial or that we don't agree with. Video equipment, that's just outdated, correct, Lisa?
Yes.
And we did delete a lot of things about VHS tapes and things, so we didn't catch that one, so good catch. And that was really that was it. So I agree that those changes can be made, and I'm happy to put the cleaned up version together and get that posted. If you will approve the amendments to the handbook, I will fix it again and get it reposted.
Last page, use of the building, number 2. Students must be under the direct supervision of a teacher or other designated and appropriate chaperone. Is a parent considered an appropriate chaperone?
If they have been appropriately approved, so if they have a background check complete. They cannot be with a parent cannot be a chaperone by themselves with a student if they do not have a background check complete.
Well, like if I bring my daughter in to shoot baskets, is that copacetic?
Yes.
If I didn't have a background check, it was my daughter. See what I'm saying? Like if,
It's more of a facilities
Yeah,
usage,
it's a
like
facilities
scheduling
use.
and timing and, yeah.
yeah,
I see what
that's,
you're saying, okay.
that's what I want to clear up. What's your thought, Sherry?
I know, and herein lies the problem, is that, we do for one, we do for all, in fairness for everybody, and so it becomes really hard to manage who's in the building when if we're open, who's in the gym, are there other kids coming in as well, is the weight room full? I mean, a lot of it's management, stuff and facilities management more than anything. I don't know if this is, I'm not reading it, so I don't know if this is referencing that in specific, but I think it's a reference to somebody supervising student activities, is that would be my guess just based off.
It says it's under use of building,
Yeah,
What page?
last page.
It's the last one.
Page 9.
but I'm not sure that's I'm not sure if that is referencing
That's a
facilities.
fact, I mean, being the
Yeah.
faculty handbook, I believe that's referencing like having a group,
Right,
can't have a group of kids if they're doing
Jason.
stuff, nobody watching.
exactly.
Did you get this? Kind of?
So that was number 2, yeah. Students might have the director of the teacher. Yeah, yeah. I think what you're asking, Chase, maybe would fall under more of like just general facilities used outside of school time. This is more like, for example, when you schedule powder, just a little example here, when you schedule powder buff volleyball practice in the evening, and we've never done that before, so we find out that there's a lot of kids in the building and nobody really arranged for chaperones, but we fixed it right away. So, I mean, I think that's what that's referencing.
Okay.
Kids have to be directly supervised by a staff member or
Okay.
another designated maybe it's an assistant coach, or maybe it's somebody that's already been vetted through it.
That makes more sense. I
Two
was trying-
separate issues, I think.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for clearing that up.
You're fine.
And I did not print the entire handbook because there was not changes beyond.
So I kind of mentioned it too during pre-meeting. Page 6, number 17 says the agenda will be developed the week prior to the board distribution occurs Wednesday mornings prior to Tuesday board meeting. So just want to make sure that we have, I know you're working really hard to get it all there, but I want to make sure that faculty and others, that if that's going to be our expectation, that we meet that expectation. If we're not going to be able to meet that expectation, then we probably need to redefine that or change our meetings or something. But I don't want to set up this. It's page 6, number 17. It's not a change. It's in there already. But I think from a fairness standpoint to the union and others, we need to make sure that we are supplying materials in a timely manner we say we're going to. So,
Is Cecilia's notes still a thing?
No, I was gonna say that doesn't exist anymore. I was just saying it's nothing really big because I do a bulletin, but it really doesn't exist. I have a bulletin that goes out every week. Just a weekly bulletin? Yeah, it could just be the bulletin.
Well, I can still let you know by 8:30 what to put in Cecilia's notes.
Good. It's just a bulletin, yeah. That's what I'll be- Yeah.
Packet,
talk about the stairs.
so just getting that packet distribution done by Wednesday. We can do that. All right.
Well, post, I think just post it. Maybe you just had it.
No,
posted.
the agenda is supposed to be posted and then the packet. So they're two different things, but that's actually listed in policy too, which is what we've been talking about for a couple months now. Just working on getting that faster.
Yeah, I think I circled on what Jason has, number 16 or whatever it is.
And again, just want to hold ourselves to the same expectation, hold our staff.
I guess along those lines, so everyone's gonna have to review it and sign off on that they've read it, or?
We've already done that. However, a few people have not submitted them because of these couple of, and that's kind of how these couple of things.
Okay.
So once they had to sign their name to it, people started catching the errors. So I'm glad they were reading. And so yes, if I will I'll fix number 16 as well. And I'll make these other edits. We won't have people redo it because it wasn't anything major.
I was gonna say maybe just that general first point, that they need to be familiar with the handbook and the student handbooks. As I know in the past, we've had dress code issues where it seems like the teachers weren't enforcing anything because maybe they didn't know what was in there.
Okay. Lisa, do you have anything to add?
Just that, to make sure that we put that, the quarter day, half day, that schedule in
Yep.
that handbook. I think it's important that it be spelled out so that there's a place for somebody to refer to, okay, how much we charge for those days, and then that's the bulk of it. We did talk about not just doing a demo, because my understanding is the CBA takes precedent over the handbook. And so there is one spot in the CBA where it says we can leave at 3:30. So our suggestion is to just do an MOU that says we recognize that that's probably just a typo, and then we'll fix it this spring.
That's in regards to the CBA.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. But we probably should have that on record so that when somebody says, yeah, but the CBA says I can make it 3:30, that we can go, we've got the hearing that says differently. That way we don't have to open it up and do all of that business.
So I think there was a motion and perhaps a second.
There hasn't been nothing.
Okay, well, then I'll move to approve the faculty handbook as amended.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the 2023-2024 faculty handbook as amended. Is there any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passed. Approve the CD interest decision. This is on you, Casey.
I was just gonna say, this is my jam. What do you want to talk about?
Is this different than the other CD we approved like 2 months ago?
No, sir, it's not.
It's the same one.
actually The exact same two. They,
Because
There was only a 4 month.
it's only,
Yeah.
it's back out. Now you gotta do it.
You gotta do it again.
Already?
Yes.
A month ago, it was actually over 5%. And that's 4-on-1.
It only,
These are August rates. Does that still hold?
actually, it does, and I will, at the day of creating this, packet, I went in and talked with Ms. Larson, and these can change, just so you know, these rates can change. Our maturity dates are until the 26th and 27th. But we have a limited time to act once those maturity dates are reached. And I could actually have different rates for you. But this right now is the rates on record. They can't tell me when the next rate change will happen. You just kind of have to put a little faith in that one. But this is what we're looking at. I had a conversation with Ms. Watson, and we both agree that the scholarship funds are still healthy, and our recommendation is that we just keep rolling the interest and principal over. And you can even consider a longer term should you choose. It would not negatively impact those scholarship funds.
What's our total balance we're working with here?
They are on the next 2 pages. So we have the McCarthy Scholarship right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the McCarthy, and the second one is the Cotter. And so McCarthy itself is 107.61 cents. The second, the Cotter, is at 100,702.73. Right now, our interest balance is $1,229.11 and $1,241.54.
Is it easiest just to keep it all at Opportunity Bank?
Yes.
I realize we're just state bank accounts and it's gonna be a little different conversation, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Well, I meant in terms of keeping it local, was what I was thinking, but, and I know there's some other banks offering 5+ on these kind of rates, so I didn't know if there's. I need to look elsewhere, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Oh, Jason, you read my mind, and I was debating within myself on whether to do that, because I believe we should shop everything, right? Bids or whatnot. The one thing I appreciate about Opportunity Bank is they're one of our sponsors, and no other bank in Helena is over here sponsoring our activity. So that's where I'm like, well, 0.5%, is it worth it? I don't know. The one thing I will say about this, though, is the feds are supposed to raise rates here again. Hopefully they don't, but they're going to. And if they do, it'd probably be beneficial to do the 4-month special and then lock in for a year once the rates go up, because the CD rates will also go up a little bit as well. Just food for thought on that.
Is that a motion? Oh, sorry.
That'd be a motion.
Jason's question.
Just for
Anybody
discussion.
can make a motion. Please make a motion.
I'll make a motion to do the 4-month special at 4.5.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the 4-month special at 4.5% at Opportunity Bank, whatever else. Any discussion?
But Casey, I think you should go to Tina and say, hey, Wells Fargo's giving us 5%.
Come on, come on,
Like strong
Right?
armor, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, motion passed.
Not afraid. They are a great supporter of our school and our students, so thanks for saying that, Jason. Thank you.
Okay, approve the final quote for the elementary playground fence. Yeah, so we had the initial quote. We went back, Daniel went back and discussed the changes. And we had already approved that it could change, but once we have it, now that we have it concrete in our hands, I wanted to just put that actual quote through the motions again, so.
Move to approve as changed, modified. Yes, updated quote.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the Fence Crafters of Helena updated fence quote. Is there any discussion?
Thanks
Discussion?
for chasing it. Thank you for your work on that.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passed.
I was afraid for you to ask about discussion on the fencing.
You may both. Personnel resignations.
Okay, so we have the resignation of William Baker as custodian. If you would please approve that resignation, and if William had any others, comments?
I'll move to approve the resignation of William Baker.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the resignation of William Baker. Is there any discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passed. Employment, school counselor, well, yeah, let's just do all these together.
And I have one to add, please. We have AJ
Oh,
Halawaya, thank you, as a volunteer. If we could add that.
For,
She would like to volunteer to help with a couple of different classes like Spanish. She's come in a couple of times, so we just wanted to give people that.
say the name one more time, please.
AJ Kalawaya. You can't say too low, so you can't confuse me.
Oh,
Okay, so, yes, we have the K-8 school counselor, Holly Smedley, middle school girls basketball coach, 7th grade is gonna be the focus, but generally we just hired 2 middle school basketball coaches, so we still have Courtney, and then we'd be adding Jeremiah Rube, girls basketball volunteer Bailey Watson, assistant golf coach Jesse Swinson, after school program JC Evinger, she's currently a para, would like to be able to help out after school or Fridays if she has her hours remaining. We do have to calculate to make sure they don't go over their 40, just so you know how that works. Paraprofessional Todd Beatty would like to start on Monday, and has been in and taken a tour and done some training. Would really like to work with students and would still be a route driver, so would part of us come in, work with our life skills program students, and then jump back on the bus and take the kids home. So substitute teacher Melissa Miser, thank you. I had a nice conversation with her, and Brad and I met with her, and she would like to substitute mainly math. So we do, once we meet with them, we talk about areas of interest, and then they have training with Allison on ASAP, and we get all signed up in there. And so that's how that works, just so you guys know. And then activity bus driver Lida Byrne. She's also a route driver, so she mainly wants to do field trips and some can do some activities on the weekends. After school program esports, Joe Gill. And then winter cheer coach, I put it on here because there's an interview on the books, but we didn't get it done in time for the meeting.
It's supposed to be tomorrow, but it got canceled, so I'm not sure what's going on.
She had a family doctor's appointment or something
So
come
it
up.
still may happen sometime.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
she, and And just so you know, I'm excited about this gal because she had reached out this summer. The family's new to the area. She had cheer experience in college at Michigan State, and then, even when we hired Allie, we had already hired Allie by the time she got a hold of us, but she was still willing to volunteer and just seems excited to be part of the program. So looking forward to that interview. Okay, so with that as a wrap, are there any questions on any particular positions? And if not, I would ask and recommend that you approve these hires pending background checks.
I move to approve the above hires for the 2023-2024 school year pending background checks.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the previous mentioned list of hires for the 2023-2024 school year pending successful background checks. Is there any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passed. Okay, so quick question. Did everybody go through the policies? Have they researched them, have questions on them, or are we starting from scratch here?
Look like a majority of them were just complying with the new laws.
Correct. Most of them were just updates due to changes in the law.
Big ones are so House Bill 352 creates a drastic, or a big change for us on the early enrollment for exceptional circumstances. And I could talk all night about it, but we could also.
Cliff notes.
10 So I'm just saying, for example, I don't know if anyone has been following House Bill 352, but that's a biggie. So we could do kind of the basic ones and save some of those if you want to know more, or if you don't need to know all of it, I can give you the cliff notes and we can try. It's up to you. I did go through the high school related ones with Sherry and Mike Schnicken. So up to you.
So the one you're talking about is replacing a current policy?
3,100. Yeah, it's quite a bit different than, but so I hate to call it a replacement. It's almost new, but yeah, I guess it's substituting for the other one because this bill changed everything basically. House Bill 352. And I printed the legislation off. That bill, for example, quite a packet, so.
I think this question's come up before, and maybe I just don't quite understand, but if this passed, if it's passed law, do we have to accept it?
So there's some that are required and some that are optional. These are required, but you do not have to adopt them as they read. So if there's parts that we don't think fit our school district, like we can change the language as long as we don't interfere with it abiding by the new law.
Like in this particular one, option A or option B?
And some of them have the options. And still, I mean, you could add words or, take something up. You can tailor them to meet our community. These are the models, but it still has to meet the requirements of the law.
So the law and the policy aren't necessarily the same thing. The policy is addressing a provision that the legislation created.
To make
If
sure
that
we're in
makes sense.
alignment with the
So
law.
the two aren't necessarily, by choosing to accept option A or option B, you're not defying the law, the MCA, but somebody else, Lance Melton should give you this answer instead of me.
One attorney's read of it versus another.
Right.
Developing an administrative rule in relation to state, but not really.
Which one are you on?
So you have to accept.
Oh,
I'll definitely want to
10-10,
For the
yeah.
kids that they, yeah, for
But
exceptional.
it's printed as 10-10.
What do you define as exceptional?
Right.
One attorney's
Yeah, you
opinion
wrote
versus
about
what's exceptional for another attorney.
Okay,
For this one.
right, no, it makes sense.
Do you guys have any thoughts or recommendations? I mean, really, you're the experts. We don't know. I don't know what I want.
Well, Susie, I guess,
Option A or option B?
right, you were gonna have a recommendation, correct?
Yeah, so are we jumping to a certain policy, or are we
I
going
was just
in
gonna
order, or?
3100 or the
10-10 FB.
1010 FE that you brought up, that was the big one.
Yeah, and honestly, so. Okay. So, sorry, I was on not. Okay, so the difference is, kind of the cliff notes on this is that from now on, students we can choose to have an assessment and qualify student 4-year-olds for a 4-year-old kindergarten program if they meet the needs assessment.
Or even 3-year-olds, right?
Yeah.
That's what this one says.
Yeah, so,
So is this pre-K or
This
is
is
that?
for, yeah, early childhood.
so this is the loophole that schools used to use, school boards used to use, like I talked about us using this year. If you wanted to have a 4K, you would have had to name the kids off and accept each of them because you felt like it was appropriate for them to have a 4-year-old kindergarten program. Now, with the new legislation going into effect for next school year, they have to pass an assessment that we select that states that they meet the needs for a 4-year-old program. So now it's targeting, so now it's saying it can't just be anybody. We can't just say we have 20 kids that want to come to 4K and you guys rattle the names off and we have a 4K. So now they have to meet the exceptional circumstances. And we have to select an assessment program for that. And so we can choose how we're going to do this.
So it seems like with option B, at least number 9 and 10 are addressing some of the things we've talked about, like just the cost-competitive nature of early childhood education and community. And 10 is improved access, will encourage or expand entry into parents into the workforce. And I don't see those exceptions listed in option A.
Right.
So option B has the testing part of it. I didn't see the testing part in A.
A and B kind of separate, if I read it right, is separating, you're looking at an individual versus option B is more of a community-wide classification.
Student specific.
It talks about an average performance on a standardized test on B where A doesn't. It doesn't talk about A testing. It just says that they qualify under free and reduced, limited English, gifted and talented, American Indian people, or homeless. It doesn't talk about any kind of testing where B does.
If this is pre-K, why is it standardized just third grade?
That's what I'm wondering.
Why is there a standardized test?
No, it says in
If
third
this
grade
is a
level.
pre-K policy, why is the?
So
does it say
the
third
goal
grade?
is, so the reason the legislature put this in place is that they will fund and we will get A and B for 4-year-olds that are not going to meet the trajectory of a third grader.
Oh,
So it's targeting our students that will not be because of the big movement of if you haven't learned how to read by third grade, you're not gonna be able to read to learn, right?
So that's
they're-
like, same with
so-
number 7 is talking about the.
Yeah,
literacy
so if
and
you're
all
not
that.
on the trajectory to be competent by third grade, then you are eligible for forfeit. And we can choose how we want to set that. And we have the option, you guys have the option to select how we decide that, those circumstances. Like I said, this one has a lot of information and it's a pretty big one if it's one that we want to continue to look.
I get, here's my concern to spur the conversation is if you have a 4-year-old joining a bunch of 5-year-olds and that 4-year-old isn't up to the abilities of the 5-year-olds, he's going to hold the rest of the class back.
This is considered more of a separate class though, isn't it, Sue? It's early childhood, they wouldn't be with kindergartners, right?
It
Necessarily.
it can be either, yeah. Like in, at Arrowhead School, we had these students come like Tuesdays and Thursdays for half day, so they just got a portion of.
But can you do that with this one, with A and B? Or they have to be
You can still have
full-time?
partial enrollment, yeah, so it can be part-time or full-time.
So I guess is the question to allow 4-year-olds to come to school, is that the matter? Or is it to say, yeah, they can as long as they assess or test up to where they should be? Is that what we're trying to decide?
No,
it's the opposite.
they have to be lacking in performance so you have to say that they qualify because they're underperforming on current performance tests or they have a barrier such as homelessness, socioeconomic status. So those are the students that qualify now. It used to be the opposite. So we used to be able to say this student's gifted, so the board could say
That's what I thought we were
you're
talking-
gonna allow them into kindergarten under exceptional circumstances. That's what I'm saying, this completely flipped everything.
Oh, I don't like that.
That's the law,
Yeah, that's why I'm saying this one, like,
Okay,
I could
now I
talk about, I
got it.
just had a 2-hour discussion with someone about this the other day, and we just scratched the surface
Yeah,
of the
it's
bill.
confusing.
So,
Okay, got it now.
and this
All right.
goes into, I think this is something that we need to really think through thoroughly and talk about what standardized tests would be used and all those things. This is one where we might want to not try to squeeze it in at the end of a meeting like this.
That sounds good.
That was the basics of the question and we got off track. So let's pull that one out. Let's just, 2167. Is there any questions on that?
Do they still do correspondence courses?
Yes. There are,
U of M Northern, like I know Northern, or is it MSU Northern, sorry, still has correspondence courses for
And then
skilled trades.
MSUB, is that what we're talking about, the early college?
Harvard,
What's that?
Harvard
Allow them to do it.
still has
Maybe the
correspondence.
language is old, correspondence courses.
They still call it that.
Did they still call it that?
I don't know that we have any students utilizing it. But there's nothing in here that we saw any issues with. I went through these with Sherry and Mike, just kind of standard. This one.
So do you want a motion on them specifically, or are you just gonna address the ones that are having questions first?
let's just do them individually and then we'll just work down the list because there's a couple I think we're going to pull out. So yes, just specific 2167.
Yeah, move to approve or move the second reading or whatever.
This would be first.
Okay, move the second reading, please.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve policy 2167 on first reading. Is there any discussion? Discussion?
This is the first reading.
Yeah, I didn't realize, or I caught it last night. We screwed up. We should have had the ones we did last time again on here for second reading, but we'll catch all of them on second reading
Next time.
next time. So, any discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passed. Okay, policy 2168. Very similar. In the realm of what it's referring to anyway, I guess.
I'll move to approve policy 2168 for first reading.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve policy 2168 on first reading. Is there any discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passed. Policy 2170 and 2170P.
We went through these with the Digital Academy folks and didn't see any issues.
I move to approve.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve policy 2170 and 2170P on first reading. Is there any discussion?
Do we have any students enrolled in digital?
Oh, yeah.
And the summer program went well.
And we're, because it's just the shall, so we shall pay, and then, this is my question, so we are paying for all those and required to pay for those by policy.
Yes,
And then, do we charge the students a fee?
we aren't currently charging.
They are taking recovery credit, we did some summer, that went well. They are doing original credit, so if something doesn't fit a student's schedule, yeah, we're using it quite a bit, quite extensively, actually. It's going well.
Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passed. Okay, so we will skip the 1010 FE 3100 replacement. 3110.
Are we moving that one to November? Is that the note on that, or is that?
Yes.
Yes.
The 2170 P1, is that different from, I know you're asking about the next one, but did we skip one there?
No, we did them together. P means the procedural part of it.
Gotcha.
So we're 3110.
And there's two of these, so the numbers are off also. I'm gonna have to ask Chris about that. And they kind of go together, so I would recommend holding off on both of those.
On the 3110.
Yeah, if you see, there's the early enrollment and there's the entrance placement and it's because it's 3130, never mind. I'm not seeing straight. Okay,
Yeah.
So this has-
3110 is what we're.
yeah, 3110, this is really standard, has to do with ESSA, that we have to admit homeless and foster care students almost upon arrival. Children of military families, that we put those extra efforts in place for them. All of these things we've talked about before, it's just updating.
So what changed on this one?
That's a good question. Let me see here. To reflect changes in law from House Bill 396. Policy provides the admission and assignment of a student because of the part-time. Just stating that they can attend on a part-time basis. But that they have those additional, so other students, we can, for example, we can say that we are gonna wait for records before we enroll them, but for foster care, homeless and military families, we do almost immediate enrollment. And now they can enroll part-time, not just full-time.
I move to approve 3110.
And I have House Bill 396 here if anybody would like.
It's been moved and seconded to approve policy 3110 on first reading. Is there any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. 3141.
So non-resident students,
Don't we do this already?
yes.
I move to approve 3141.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to approve policy 3141 on first reading. Is there any discussion?
What did we change on this, do you know?
So the big difference is that all students that we're going to open enrollment, and that on this one, it is that is House Bill 203, social enrollment students. So because they opened up the opportunities for non-resident students in House Bill 203.
So that's just like the student agreements that we approved earlier, just opposite.
So out of district attendance by parent or guardian request with no extenuating circumstances.
Does number 5 mess us up with the June 15th date? Because we've done it almost at every meeting.
So those are our attendance agreements for students going elsewhere, not for them coming here. And this is for students enrolling for the school year, like for the next school year. And I believe the reason that they have June 15th in there is because, so we have to accept those students up to June 15th, but if it comes in after that, we may not have enough room for them. We not have planned for those students. So that's why they put
What's
it.
interesting about that is like June 15th is that a lot of times we don't know what size our classes are until we start school. So
Right.
We're approving them 2 months prior.
Yep. And I don't see a major impact for us in Townsend, but East Helena, for example, they're very concerned with some of this new legislation on open enrollment and attendance because they could have a lot of students come from other areas, neighboring districts, for example. I don't think that will have a major impact of that magnitude, but some districts are, and even schools within a district are super concerned about how they're gonna find space, teachers plan for this to occur.
Any discussion?
Does it need to be changed, Christina?
Huh?
Does it need to be changed or is it?
Does it need a date at all?
That's my only concern, is just how do you know your numbers then? If you're approving people and it says you won't take them beyond,
That's
that's
what I was
gonna
thinking.
go beyond the number, the class size, but if we've already accepted them, can we deny them after that if we're beyond our class size? I'm just curious on that part of it.
Yeah, there is language that if it's going to, if it's going to make your class sizes beyond the state caps, that
So
you
it
can
says-
deny enrollment.
Yeah, if we've capped out at 80 kindergartners and we've already accepted another 5 beyond that, can you go backwards and say, oh, sorry, you can't now?
Well, it's for students, it's not for kindergartners. It's for students reapplying that they have to notify you by June 15th. So a first grader going to second grade.
Even so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't see as much fluctuation in the other grades. The kindergarten's always kind of a shot in the dark, but.
Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passed. So 3510, 3550, I guess, Vanessa, these ones have been on your radar a little bit. How much discussion do we want to have on them tonight, or do we want to wait?
I don't think I have any discussion.
Okay.
I mean, I passed along, if it's not in the handbook, then it's free game according to the whatever clubs, extracurricular clubs.
Okay, so we will look at a motion on 3510 and 3550. I think we can do those together.
I got it. Where did some of this language come from?
Last year when this spring when we reviewed.
Yeah, but that one part was never, guests shall, participation in middle school dances limited to students enrolled in Townsend Middle School and their approved guests.
Yeah, I'll
Shall
send
be
you
a
a guess in
student.
middle school.
You've never had guests in
No,
middle school.
because that was the thing, that it's not.
That's not what we discussed this morning.
Guest shall be a student who has reached the age of 12 and not yet. That was not in there before, prior to that, at any point.
I
Yeah, I
thought when we did this in the spring, Brad, middle school stayed the same.
It was because our
Yeah.
policy was we
Yeah.
not,
Two
it
guests in
is
middle
just,
school.
yes, we,
Yeah, that's what I recall from
say.
watching it on the public side.
That must just be a mistake then in
She didn't
translation.
update it. That part properly.
Yeah, it was.
But we were reading it, the Broadwater High parts, right? Because we made sure that it said
That part's right,
Previous
but Brad's
student.
right, the middle
the
school
middle
part,
school part's wrong.
it's wrong.
Okay.
We
I
did
think
work
that
on the
second,
other one.
third sentence is,
I think it just got put in the wrong place. There is no,
yeah, it should just end after participation in middle school dances is limited to students enrolled at Townsend Middle School, period.
period.
And then the rest of that paragraph just needs removed.
Right.
Are the camps and stuff, Christina, those are not necessarily school sanctioned activities? I'm thinking like the Little Dog basketball camp coming up next week. Is
That's a fundraiser for basketball.
Because I was just looking at like 3, I said that they have to be at least 5. And if we're gonna allow those that are less than 5.
I don't know if that really falls under extracurricular, does it? That's a fundraiser.
I didn't know like how we classify those other activities. So,
Yeah, the basketball camp's a fundraiser, right? The-
Yeah,
David
they're not,
Lawson's
I
doing.
don't think they're classified as
Yeah, they're just
extracurricular
fundraisers.
activities, yeah.
I just was trying to think
Yeah.
of what sports do we have for 4-year-olds or 5-year-olds?
No, we don't have-
However, this is
We're doing
something,
those hoops, we're gonna,
oh my gosh.
It's not school, not
This-
school sport.
It's something you should probably be aware of because like the camps are an extension of a school sponsored activity. If we have a special ed student, for example, sign up for one, we are required to provide a paraprofessional. So those are some things we've been running into. And the district pays for that paraprofessional, not the camp necessarily, or the, so it ends up being a cost to us.
Okay, so I need a motion on 3510, either separate or we can do them together with the changes noted on 3510. Just with that change, probably just do them separate.
3510, I move to approve as amended. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve policy 3510 with the noted amendment on first reading. Is there any discussion?
On number 3, we talked about having the MHSA rules spelled out, whether by a link, if it's online. This last year, we had a non-public school athlete who was participating in practices. And the morning of, before the bus left, they were told they couldn't come, and there was confusion because they've met the grade check and all this. And it was an MHSA rule that was not communicated by us at any point until they got the call the morning of.
So are you talking about 4, like 3, Roman numeral 4 of that section, or not, sorry, where it says, I don't know if that's MHSA, where would we, oh, right here.
Well, maybe it's a different policy, but I guess it's brought to my mind by number 3A,
Gotcha.
where it says
I was
established
looking
by,
at the wrong thing.
it just says MHSA rules. It doesn't say what those are. So
I
if
like
we
that.
had, or if we could just send them to the website, if it can't be interactive, because I know in the fall sports,
Right.
there was no specificity of what the MHSA requirements are.
I guess you could put in the MHSA website as a reference point there. That's not a bad idea.
Yes, something so that they know it's not just
Right.
what we've put out. We
Because
are
do- I
also
think that's what
adherent.
That's what everybody is given. I mean, they're given all of those when they sign up, so.
Right, but
that-
not the MHSA rules. I went back through the packet and looked.
Right. Well, when they come, so maybe that's where the confusion is. So when homeschool students come to sign up, they are given a sheet, given the rules and sheets, and that does have the MHSA section on it. But that being said, I think it's a really good idea to put some kind of a reference or a link or a website link to MHSA to do that. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think it would,
It just adds one more layer of opportunity for people to see those things, so. I
yeah, less confusion.
agree.
But I didn't see it in the sport, maybe you're talking about a different thing, the fall sports meeting. I didn't see anything.
Right, it's not in the regular participation packet, because if a homeschool student wants to sign up, they have another whole, like we've done, they have another whole set of things that they have to do, and there's another whole sheet on that too. And maybe we combine them also, they're all in one thing or something, and streamline that. That's not a bad idea either, so. Kind of lessen the confusion all the way around, because it's confusing for all of us in general,
Yeah.
so, you know that, yeah.
Discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passed. 3550.
I don't know why there's lines through the numbers.
I was just gonna ask the same thing, I don't know. This is all pretty boilerplate, it's been the same.
Because that's basically what, similar to the PTA one that we just worked through, and those are important components.
I move to approve 3550.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve policy 3550 on first reading. Is there any discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passed. All right, so we just moved the one down, correct? 1010 FE. Okay. Christina.
Okay, a couple of things. We had our 3-12 conferences in elementary for 3rd through 5th. We had an 82% attendance by parents, which was pretty good. So pretty happy with that number. Our count date was in the beginning of October, and K-5 is up 1 from last year. So we were 340 last year, now we're 341. I did inform you guys once before that our teachers are creating pacing guides so that we can make sure that we're staying on schedule to make sure that they're getting all their standards and everything is covered in our 4-day school week. I have received some of those, and so if you ever want to take a look at anything at any one of them, stop by and I'm happy to show those to you so you can kind of see what that looks like in a grade level when it comes to, right now they started with reading and then they'll keep building from there. The goals this year I did with our staff is instead of giving them a couple to create, I actually gave them a list of like 8 different types that they could choose from, whether it was professional goals, student engagement, using data, relationship, whatever that might be. And so they chose their two goals and create a SMART goal, which means they need to be able to measure it and attain it, that it's really relevant in a timely manner. So I've got, those are due by Halloween, so I've got most of those in. And so then those goals will be worked in when I do their evaluations. Standards-based grading, one of our committees is working on that. We're using Great Falls outline for that. We are gonna look at moving into that for reading, which basically it's where we're looking more at the standards to see if kids are achieving those, whether that's like an 80%. An easy example would be like in kindergarten, they have to count 1 to 20. Are they getting that so parents can actually see that they're actually attaining those standards instead of just having a grade where they're like really not sure what that means and what they're actually gaining. And so we're working on moving towards that in the spring with reading. And then so that way parents can kind of have an idea what it looks like in the spring and then move forward the following year, and then we'll start moving in math and slowly bring in all the items of reading, math, science, and then probably grammar might be the ones that we have. And then this year we did add STEAM for specials because of the 4-day school week. It was difficult having more classes. We couldn't get everyone to PE and to music. And so Mr. Severide took on the STEAM class this year. And after our conferences this last week, he had a lot of families visiting with him. And he was really excited to report that he had kids telling their parents that that was their favorite class. And so that really made him feel good that he actually had a favorite class now. And the kids, I've spoken to a few kids and they're telling me some of the things they're learning and getting out of it. And they're just, it's been really nice to have that as a special this year. And really appreciate Mr. Severide taking that on, as well as Ms. Giono then taking on all of library courses this year. So it made a huge difference with the kids. So.
And I know that was a comment with my kids. So I didn't go listen to the class, but they were both very excited about it.
Yeah, they're really enjoying it. So PLC time. So we are working on a new benchmark system. We are moving from STAR to FastBridge. STAR just wasn't giving us the data that we were looking for in our students. Kindergarten's been using FastBridge for a while. And so now we've been starting, so we have 4 PLC times in the morning where they're doing the training on FastBridge so we can start moving into that full time. And then we meet, each of our committees meet and work on our plannings. Like one of them is working, they work on the assemblies to do quarterly awards, they're working on the veterans assembly, stuff like that. And then things like the standards-based grading, so each committee has things, goals that they're working on for the year. And then one of the things we also do is DESA, and this is an evaluation of what actually do this next PLC, that the teachers evaluate a mini DESA, which kind of then pinpoint students that we need to look at to see what kind of needs they need to have met we'll use that data then to create groups such as social groups, friends groups, things like that. But now that we have a counselor, we'll be able to do so. And so that's what that data is used for, among other things. It can point out lots of things, but gives us some tools, some intervention tools that we can use to help those students. And then each PLC, we also do cross grade level meetings where the grade levels have a prep time that they can work together like a kindergarten class. But it's really nice now we can do K2 can meet together and 3-5 can meet so they can make sure that they're staying in line with their standards, work together, move towards like our personalized learning and science, things like that. And then, as I said earlier, we had our crunch time today. It's encouraging the students to eat healthy and nutritious. And so at 2:30, we stepped outside today with everyone having apple or an orange, and they all got really quiet, and right at 2:30, they all took a bite. So it was kind of cool to hear them all with that. So. And we have our adopted species coming up on the 17th presentation. We also have our Veterans Assembly coming on November 8th. That's going to be a K-12 assembly. So, and then of course, parent-teacher conferences for K2.
For those signups, sorry, I don't know if you're ready for your question.
Yep, go ahead.
For the conferences, are we doing the signups outside the doors, or are you doing the sign up like we did for 3-5, or how's that?
Each grade, each teacher's doing their own way.
Okay.
So whatever the teachers did their way before. The problem we're running into right now is 3 hours, at least in the elementary. It looks different in middle and high school. But in elementary, parents still want to come and talk to them. There's not enough time. And that's what we're really running into. There's not enough time to actually have these conferences with them. So it's something we're going to kind of discuss to see how we can do that in the future so they do have that time. So right now, it's really up to the teachers of what's going to work best for their class. And then this spring, we'll do student-led conferences.
And then do you have dates yet for the winter or the concerts?
December 5th and 7th.
We're working on those.
And then the only thing we don't know is where 5th grade will be on which of those days. But December 7th is the elementary concert, right? Thursday? Yeah, so December 7th is the elementary one. We just don't know where 5th grade is going yet.
Middle school one?
Tuesday,
Tuesday the
middle school, high school.
We're just not sure on 5th because it's a band and choir thing. So we're trying to figure out what's going to work best.
And
And
then to
then,
meet with our music teachers and get
Yeah.
that lined up.
and then what we'll do with the 7th is, depending on what we do with 5th, is we'll probably split it into 2 and do a K2 or a K2 and a 3-5 or whatever concert to kind of break up the time and give us more space.
Did you guys decide on a time I have to be there?
Brad's like, this is all new information.
I was gonna say, Brad, remember that text I sent out that we have to get together and
What
meet,
time
iron
is
this
that?
stuff out.
Yours is normally at 7, isn't it?
7 for middle school, high school.
And elementary though, well, elementary don't know yet because we're gonna split it up.
Did you guys put those on the calendar yet, or
They're on the calendar, we just don't know what grades left on the one. right now.
We have got to get together and sort that out.
Okay.
Yes.
Just one question on that, Jason, and others with elementary kids. Kind of thinking if we did a 6 to 7 and a 7:30 to 8:30, is that gonna be too late? I don't know if we can shrink it down any more than that.
Well, it's Thursday night, they might not have school Friday, so it should be okay.
That's true. I didn't think about
Is that the
that.
1 week we have?
No.
I was gonna say.
No, December 15th is our 1 week we have school.
I knew it was
I was looking for my phone for the calendar going, oh no.
I talked about like 5:30, the problem is a lot of people can't make it by 5:30. So if we did, originally I was thinking 5:30, 6:30, and 7 to 8, but that pushes people to be there by 5:30. But then there'd be a 30-minute, time period to split between the two, and people could go out and in and give it.
It's so
More
big
seating.
and there's so much,
So
it's
hot.
so packed.
It's
I
just,
know.
there's no room.
Sounds-
There's seriously just no room anymore. So, and with 3 grades of 4 teachers, it's just.
We talked about this last
Yeah.
year, yeah. We're trying to make it better.
Any other questions for Christina?
I was just curious on the attendance data
Mhm.
on first. Was there really more kids missing in August than September?
Only because we had some students that didn't attend right away. I know of a handful that did not start school in August, actually started in September, but they're still on our roster.
Those 3
so-
days were rough.
Only because it didn't come is the only reason.
That's why. They didn't show up.
Those first 3 days were hard.
Yep,
Okay, thank you.
not by their choice. Let's put it that way.
Did September, fourth grade, 101, some sickness go through class or, yeah?
We've had a major stomach flu and that went through.
Had
and then we had-
norovirus.
Yep, and then we had one that they're just showing up fevers, there's nothing else with it, just a major fever.
We have some COVID.
We have some COVID, and I'm hearing from other schools that it's resurfacing a little here and there.
It's everywhere in hell.
Mhm.
Brad?
Looking back at, our situation last month, something that stands out was the crisis support and response that we had from our local clergy and some of our, community counselors. People in the school, I can't say enough good things about what they did, but the turnout from some of our community people that helped us with that was just so valuable, and appreciate all the time they gave and what they did for our students. They really helped us pull through that, and was just really proud of all of our staff and how they just took that in and made things work. And they did a great job, I think. And obviously, whenever we look back on some, situations like that, as you review them, there's some things you learn from a little bit. We do a little better. We discussed a few of those. And hope it's one of those things you hope you just don't have to use very often. We also had our parent-teacher conferences. There were some scheduling issues that will not happen again, I hope, with those, with having junior high events. And we had about 45 of our students gone that night, which means their parents were probably gone, which is not how we want to do parent-teacher conferences. So hopefully that will not occur in the future. For Halloween, our student council's been very active. We're gonna send some students along with the high school. They do a student council conference that's really has a pretty impressive lineup, and we'll be sending our student council officers to that if they choose to go. And then our student council hosts a Halloween party and dance that we do outside of school hours. And we do that partly because we don't allow the students in middle school to dress up for Halloween. So Mrs. Toulos is planning that, and we'll get the information out to the students as soon as those plans are final. Our candy sales, which I've mentioned several times before, just started this week. It's the one fundraiser we do in the middle school, and just say it again, that money goes toward things that don't have to come out of the general budget. All of our, it helps offset the cost of our behavior code field trip for those students that choose to sell. It helps buy the prizes. It does buy the prizes for all of our behavior incentives and those kind of things that we do. And a portion of that money goes over with the 8th graders to high school as kind of seed money for the things that they do in high school. So it's a very good cause. It's quick. And Carrie Eichinger this year kind of helped head that up. That's something that Janelle Robichaud had always kind of done. And so with the help of some other teachers, got that out and it's going. And it'll be wrapped up quickly. In our first PLC, we also worked on pacing guides, and that was a really good experience, I think, with the teachers to kind of, not a lot changes, I think, with things, but it's a good chance for them to kind of review and really in the long run, not just review kind of their curricular areas, but I think it kind of makes their planning for the rest of the year go. They can kind of look and, kind of have a roadmap for where they're going and what they're going to be doing. Enrollment numbers, pretty close to right where they were last year. They're down actually a little bit in the middle school from where they ended last year. And from the first of the month, we've actually had a couple students move, but they're still high. And right now we'll be about 177 in the middle school tomorrow, I think, after those students that transferred out or figured in. And yeah, we had some absences too that kind of came in waves this year. It was fortunately isolated to kind of 1 week. Hit us really hard with absences, and other than that, things were fairly normal for the school year.
Questions for Brad?
In general, you said you had a couple issues with teachers, new ones, is that correct? Without going into specifics, did that all get handled?
Yeah, we've got some things we're doing. We're helping out in some areas, and we knew when we our situation with hiring, we kind of had some areas that were going to be uncovered, I guess, a little bit. And we've kind of done a little trial and error with how we're offering those subjects. And I think we have a pretty good plan moving forward with things. So, yeah.
Okay. Expectations are clearly laid out though, so they know. Yeah, good. Oh, thanks, Brad.
Yeah. Anything else?
Just on the discipline,
Yeah.
I saw you had 4 20-pointers.
So, and
I
that's,
assume higher is bad.
yeah, very much so. Yeah, and wait till you see next one. We're on a pace. Yeah, and so, and I guess, I know it's late, but just a real quick conversation with those. The point system is something we use in the middle school and always have. And now with the new kind of wording in our handbook, those are just basically used as a guideline for when we can start some different. It still gives us, the way our handbook is now, we have a lot more discrepancy, I guess, as an administrator to do things. And there used to be some really hard things of when a student was brought in front of you guys. And so we just kind of use the point system as a guideline to, judge when we need some more intervention with students and things to do. But yes, the higher the points,
Yeah, I just.
the fewer we'd like to see.
If you got a 20 in September, you don't got much more room to get to 35.
Yeah, they do, they do lose under our thing. We use those points to kind of use also for our behavior incentive things, like going on a field trip, getting your name in the drawings and those kind of things. So it's helpful to us. But yeah. And hopefully those numbers stay fairly low, but my experience as the year goes on, and the closer you get toward the holidays, the more they go up. Unfortunately, there's a correlation there. But most of them are isolated to a few students. Overall, our students try pretty hard to do the right thing. The thing we are working on with our students and using as a focus in some of our advisories and some kind of informal programs we started is school pride and taking care of not just pride as far as, rah, but just taking care of our facility, cleaning up areas, cleaning up our mess in the lunchroom and in the hallways, and have kind of started some little incentives. We'll start with that too, because that's something I think we could work on. So that'll be our focus here this first part of the year.
Jerry?
All right, well, I didn't think I was gonna be here because I thought I would still be out doing football, but that's okay. I'll add a few things in. I had a lot to say. I just thought I'll be in the Frozen Homecoming week, so.
Well, Andy went over one thing while you were gone.
I know, I was like, what are you guys been doing for 2 hours? We're still here? What?
We might watch the.
I know. No, so yeah, we're in the throes of the homecoming week. Obviously, it's only Tuesday, but it's kind of all packed in. I just wanted to really do a big shout out to student council and advisor Mrs. Lampman and the high school staff, all the rest of the high school students, a lot of collaboration, Mr. Odell, obviously. Big collaborative effort to work on homecoming, and we obviously with the 4-day week, we can't necessarily cram 5 whole days worth of activities into 4 days that are already busy weeks. So we had to make a few adjustments and changes, but I think as we roll through them, that I think it's going to work out really well. And again, trial and error, we'll make adjustments if we need to again next year. But overall, very happy. The kids are having a great time. It was really fun out there in the Powder Buff volleyball was a hit. That was a noisy gymnasium, and Powder Buff football was really fun too. So we are rolling into the busy days. We get a little bit of a break tomorrow, which is nothing after school, but then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we are back to back to back, and this is the most heavily laden activity, homecoming that we've had since I've been here. So we got a lot going on. Saturday is basically, about 8 a.m. till about midnight. So it's a full day. So we're looking forward to that. Kids are in a good mood. Overall, staff morale and student morale in the high school feels really good this year. Obviously barring the few things that we've had to deal with that have been really hard, but in general, things are going really well in the high school. I'm very happy with a lot of our new changes with classes and different things. It seems like things are rolling on. Initially, from what we have just in the first month, going pretty well with a lot of those things. Let's see, I had kind of attendance too, kind of the opposite for us. We haven't had quite that much sickness in high school, and honestly, attendance feels a lot better. I know it's really early on, but I think high school wise, we're seeing a lot better attendance overall. A lot of times those monthly numbers will add up to at least almost pushing 200 absences or higher. I don't know exactly what it's attributed yet. If you look at the 11th and 12th graders and the 10th graders, especially the 10th and the 12th, it just feels like we have some pretty good attendance. And again, sometimes it's one kid that's sick for a week and it skews the attendance numbers, but in general, it feels like we're doing okay. A lot less tardies, a lot less over so many absences already at the quarter, just very few students. So I'm feeling pretty okay about that so far. We'll see how that goes as it continues. Parent-teacher conferences always look different in the high school, pretty much an open house scenario where parents just come in and visit either all of the teachers or the teachers they feel like they need to see. I think at the high school level, there's a lot of direct communication. If students really are struggling, parents will reach out really early, or teachers will reach out really, really early. A lot of conversations happen before that night. It's a struggle. We definitely do not have the numbers in the high school that I sure would like to see. I hear 80% attendance. That's amazing. That's not happening at the high school. So if a teacher sees 10, 15 parents in the night, that's good. So I'm not sure what we do with that or how we improve that. I actually, we've sent out invitations. I've sent out blasts before on every campus. We obviously try to advertise that they're happening, and teachers give extra credit if your parents come. So we've tried a lot of variety of things. It's a little different animal at the high school level. So any suggestions are always welcome with that.
The new science teacher had fun. He thought it was cool that parents came. I mean,
yeah,
it is really hard to get parents to come, and I saw parents came to meet him and things. So
yeah, it was great. It was really good. Kind of since we're all kind of on the same track. First PLT day went well. We have the next one coming up this Friday. The high school staff's on track with their pacing guides and calendars for their classes. They're very excited about some of the cool AI tools they've been able to find to help them with that. Give them templates so that then they can make it theirs and change and shift and work with what we need to do there. So also on that AI topic, it's something they're really interested in diving into and getting more resources, spending more time in our next PLCs on how to mitigate that usage with students, how to use it as a tool, but yet, not, obviously, we don't want students plagiarizing and, writing papers through AI that aren't theirs. It's an incredibly huge topic with a lot of training on it. We actually had a really great, the guy who runs Montana Digital Academy is kind of the local AI expert. He's out of Missoula, and the stuff he showed us at a principal's it was incredible, the stuff you can do with artificial intelligence and in good ways too. I mean, there's always the good, the bad, and the ugly, and so it's pretty amazing what is available and what is out there. So just trying to glean those resources and figure out, what we can use to our advantage, so teachers aren't having to spend a lot of time on the stuff that took forever, and they don't really need to spend that time there. It's better to spend that time in the classroom instructing students and with students. So we're navigating all of that. It's really an interesting navigation. What else? We are going to continue this Friday with pacing calendars, try to recover from the homecoming week so they can get a start on the next week. And then we are talking about some other ideas they had for future PLCs. I kind of had them build what they would like to do with me, so that, I said me some, and I think and some of the things I can suggest that we want to do, but what are some things that they feel like we need to do. So some of the other things we're getting together, obviously we're small enough, we don't necessarily have departments, but that being said, we do have like a CTE group. We have 3 English teachers, we have 2 math teachers, we have 2 science teachers, and just kind of having some time for them to get together to collaborate and make sure that, as far as curriculum goes and what we're teaching, we're not having a ton of overlap with other areas. So looking forward to those conversations. Jam-packed with activities, as you can see, it really amps up about mid-October to the end of October. Fall season starts wrapping up. Brad mentioned State Student Council. We're excited to have the middle school jump in on some of that as well. It just kind of grows that program more. And our student council advisors have just done a fantastic job with building those programs and maintaining them really well. Trying to think of what some other, we do have our senior nights are next weekend for football and volleyball. Cross country is this Saturday, so that senior night's happening this Saturday, this senior day, I guess, Saturday. Next Thursday will be Dig Pink night and senior night for volleyball. And then next Friday will be senior night for football. We have one senior, and it's our manager, so we will be showcasing her and her attributes. State cross country comes. We have Red Ribbon Week. I am working with East Helena. They reached out to us. They have a really good speaker coming and want to know if any other schools in the area were interested as well. So I'm going to sit in on a Zoom meeting with that person tomorrow to see if it's something we want. But the basis of it is it's called Because I Said I Would, and it's the whole idea about having integrity, and your word means something and handshake still means something. And I'm hearing really good reviews from other schools that have had this speaker come in. So we thought for Red Ribbon Week that might be something good to have in. Fall plays coming up. It's on a Monday, Tuesday. And then we're rolling to postseason, district volleyball, football, all of those things. The others were mentioned, state volleyball, and that's a wrap. It'll be very busy for the next couple of weeks. Yes.
All right.
Questions for Sherry?
35 seniors. Have we lost any this year so far? Any dropouts?
We, 2 initially, so I think, is there only 35? I thought there were 37. Did I lose 2 more?
2
Jeez.
dropouts when I
I
checked
from
with
the
Wanda today.
Oh, from
yeah.
the original, yes. Okay, gotcha.
And here's.
Yep, the senior class is.
Oh, you have the count information. Did you guys?
For sure.
And
We
did
had
you
2
guys get this
initially.
one too?
So we had one that came for the first day. We had actually had conversations with parents today, and it's lack of credits. I mean, not being a senior and not even having the freshman level of credits, it becomes, that becomes difficult, and being on track for graduation. Wanted to come back, all was good, and then after day 1 said, I'm not doing this, so decided to drop. The other student just never showed back up. So, we weren't sure at the end of the year. It was someone that came to us last year and then they ended up moving again and moving on, but we have not received any enrollment or requests for records or transfers.
Oh, so they never showed up?
They never came back to school. So,
Okay,
yes,
gotcha.
That's where the other one came from.
Okay, all right. No, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so I sent you guys a draft letter, just let me know what you think of that, to go out to parents with some updates. One of the things, we have the vape detectors installed now, and we have been working through that, and they have been effective, but we've found as an admin team, they are time consuming. But we do have a major problem, and I know kids and parents have been complaining about it, and so hopefully that helps deter that and keep that away from school. They're realizing that they're not gonna get away with it, in the building anymore, so that's good. So we already talked about count quite a bit, and we can talk about that a little bit going forward. Looking back now, it's always hard to plan, like maybe we didn't need that many second grade classrooms or that kind of thing now that you look at it, but we have really nice small numbers. Hopefully that can help with the COVID learning loss that we've seen and give those kids a little bit of extra boost, and then we can evaluate what we want to plan for classroom sizes for next year. It's always hard to plan exactly. We've lost a couple here and there, so they're a little bit smaller than we thought they would be. The staff are planning, the principals agreed that they're kind of running their PLC days as team time, so they can do professional development in their grade level, building level specific areas. However, we have all been coordinating on that to some level, and Donna helped me work with Billings Clinic to get the CPR and first aid set up for the middle school and high school staff for November 17th. So they'll have the opportunity to do that, and then anybody else will open that up to fill to 50 spots. We reserved 50 spots for that on November 17th. So paras and custodians, as many people as we can have trained, we think is great. I sent you an email today, just kind of last call for MCEL registration. If anybody wants us to get you enrolled virtually or in person. I think Mrs. Hartman and I are the only ones going in person so far. I know that Brad got a lot out of it doing it virtually last year, and Sherry's at another training. So we have that. Those are our plans, but let me know how I can help you.
Senior nights.
I also was talking to Deborah Silk about other board member professional development and kind of those kinds of things. She recommended a couple of books to me, and I got those ordered for us. So I'll get those passed out to you, and kind of some highlights of areas that I think, I'm obviously not going to assign you homework, but some areas that I think you might want to read so we can have discussions.
Audiobook. Did you get this on tape?
Oh yeah, you'll probably, I should have just gotten you the Audible credit, right, to forward. So then with Indian Ed, we are really working on our budget and what that's going to look like and what we're going to do that with this year. We're required under the new legislation to kind of run that as a separate funding stream. It's been just kind of with general funds before, but we need to be more purposeful in that. So it's been fun working with some of the different teachers. Jill Flynn and I have been working on some plans for her classroom, and I've been helping her with some literature selection and getting books ordered. And so it's exciting to do that work. We're bringing in.
Did you get the information from Superman that I
Yeah,
gave you?
so we're going to bring in some presenters. Teachers are looking at field trips, and we're just going to make sure that we get do an awesome job of spending that money in a way that's going to impact our students and be really high quality, as well as professional development for teachers. So that's been great. And Monday, I am going to State Student Council with Mrs. Lampman, so I'll join her. There'll be hundreds of kids here in Helena. Last time I heard, they said they were projecting around 600 kids. Student council and the kids are awesome and they're really thriving since they've gotten to come back to having their in-person meetings, and it's pretty cool because the kids organize those conferences and run them, and I was asked to be a speaker to explain to them what the Board of Education is in Montana, so I will be doing that, and then also sharing with them that they have an opportunity because we have a student member on the board. And I don't know if you guys have ever thought about that before either, but some school boards have a student member too. So something to think about. So I'll be there just to have a small speaking part, and then we'll be helping Allie with all the kids because she also has some roles to play. So I'll supervise the kids when she's in her other capacity as a leader for state student council. So that'll be fun on Monday. I think most of the rest of it can wait. It's been a long night, and because we had so many things, I want to make sure we don't miss anything, and I want to make sure that we make everything happen that you guys need to happen to make informed votes before the next board meeting. I typed up kind of some notes and I'll send those out. And then I'll put a more comprehensive action plan together tomorrow morning on kind of a schedule of how we'll get all of these accomplished and keep you posted. That way I won't leave anything off or forget anything, and we can be on the same page because we have a lot going on. And then I have I did print off some of the major bills that go along with some of the policies. Some of them you already approved anyways. But if anybody wants to talk more in depth about any of the legislation and the impacts that are coming, I was thinking about kind of doing a separate wrap up outside of the policies that we approve for you. So just so that, or we can just do more of just reach out if you have any questions, but I'm sure like at MSIL, everyone will be talking about the new open enrollment and some of the challenges that's going to bring to districts. Casey and Pam and I have been talking about it a lot. And then like the early exceptions and how that got all reversed. It's really interesting. And then just kind of how those different things are going to affect us. And some of them don't go into play until next year, which is, and then you know how we already have some that are already in play. So happy to answer any questions at any time about any of that. And just echo Brad's statement. It was awesome. You guys have been so supportive and great through everything. And some things got, put on hold, but we also did our best to keep business moving forward. So appreciate everyone and everything that everybody did for the school and our neighboring districts that were great as well. That's it.
Have you had any more conversation with the county about the mills and the whole ongoings there, or do we have talking points from the
Yes, so
district that we could share with county members as to regarding what that means?
The county's actually gonna talk about it tomorrow. It's on the agenda for the commissioner meeting.
Okay.
I guess my talking points pretty much are that in talking to Bia, and there's about 4 major opinions regarding the mills right now, 4 main points of view out there. It seems like 4 camps, and it's gone to court now. So at this point, it's out of our hands, and the decision will be made, and we'll have to do with it what comes out of it. So there's not a whole lot for us to get into the weeds on with it now that it's gone there. So that was kind of Bia's recommendation, because I know there's tons coming out. I mean, I'm getting, information from our, I've been working with Commissioner Rick Meyer on it pretty closely. She's been sending me all of the information she's getting, and then we get all the MTSBA information, and then we get, all the different information. So I called Bia and she's like, you really don't need to get studied up on all of it because it's gonna be and made a decision made at a higher level now, so.
Okay. Quick follow-up, so we need to set a special meeting date,
Yep, I have that in the list
Okay.
right here.
and we need to verify that we get a meeting with the city.
Yep, I have that right here. So packets earlier, done Tuesday, distributed Wednesday, SRO action item, and start thinking about the MOU, what we can contribute. Baseball action item, what financial information is needed for the board to make a decision. Request city meeting agenda, request to be on the agenda. First reading on policies remaining, second reading of the others. Make sure Chris Goss has the correctly revised ones on our portal. Schedule school safety team meeting and the board operations committee after that to work towards comprehensive safety planning proposal for the board. Schedule a special school board meeting to approve the bus purchase and meet with stakeholders regarding the radio. Send the board the safety assessment from U of M and reach out to Randy again for his assessment. Edit and post the handbook.
And then we'll have to create an MOU for that CBA, for that one item too.
And MOU. Think of anything else? But yeah, I think that'll help. And then I'll put the steps, the action items, kind of task management, little spreadsheet together so we can make sure all that gets done for the next board meeting. That works for you guys.
Thanks,
All right.
Susie.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
everyone. Thank you, Joe.
Are you adjourned?
We're adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
We can't do a,
Cheers.